Sometimes, life is yikes.
And that's okay. You're not alone. Welcome to Yikesland. Hi, and welcome to Yikesland, our podcast about living with depression and mental illness. We're here again on a Tuesday, sitting here with you, talking about our struggles and your struggles, and hopefully because you're here with us on a Tuesday, it can be a better day for you. I'm here with.
It's hello from Yikesland. It's Jelani.
And I'm your other host, Chris Fung. And we're so happy that you are here living in the horrible, wonderful Yikesland with us today.
That's right. Everything is fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Hi, how's everything going? Where are our fans coming to us? Where can they find more information about us, and where can they go?
You guys can reach out to us on our Twitter at Yikesland, our Facebook, our Instagram, which is at Yikesland_podcast, or shoot us an email at yikesland@gmail.com.
That's right. If you want to have someone to talk to, or if you feel like you need to comment and want to support us and everything like that, that's really great. You can check us out on all these social media avenues, and we're slowly expanding out there. You can find us on most podcatchers right now, as they call them, where they catch podcasts out of the ether and put them on their sites. We're still expanding. We're trying to get more places, guys. I'm working on getting it on Spotify. Don't worry about that. Hopefully by this episode, everything like that. Hopefully everything will be dropping out there, and hopefully you guys are having a great time and enjoying the views from Yikesland, if you will.
Just go sad react all of our Facebook posts.
That's what we want. Don't give us any type of happy face. Just all sad reacts. That's a trend. We're gonna trend it. Hashtag sad face. Well, let's start the podcast. How we start the podcast out.
Well, how
every
are
week.
you, Jelani?
Well, so.
It's harder to be asked first, isn't it?
Is it? It is. Oh my! Tables have been turned. Checkmate. Yeah. So for me, it's been a little difficult for me recently, but I've been trying to take small steps towards getting better and being more in charge of my life. But the thing is, like, it's a struggle at the moment. A lot of things are an issue at the moment, and it's not like sunshine and rainbows like the Yikesland falsities would make you believe. But
do you feel like it's a lot of external factors or internal factors or both?
It's a little bit of both. I have an internal turmoil happening with me where a lot of things, making a lot of inside voices and things like that of just like, oh, things are on fire and it's the garbage truck on fire of a life and blah 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 blah. But then at the same time, there are those stressors, the stressors of normal life, the stressors of financial stability, and the stressors of work, and it's all kind of just like trying to juggle all these plates and hopefully none of them drop and break. But I've been dealing with a lot of that. But besides that, I haven't had like too many hard depression hits lately. So hopefully it's a positive trend, especially since it's it being fall and everything like that. So the seasonal affective disorder is in full swing, if you will. So I can feel it just like really like a ghost haunting me with tiredness and just outside stressors right now. But the things have not gotten worse, I would say. If anything, they are staying stable, and I'm trying to steer the boat upwards, which doesn't really how it works, but like hopefully I will it to fly out of this. Like if I clap my hands, hopefully the pixie dust will carry the ship up off the sea of storms. But yeah, it's not like it's not me just being super sad all the time. There's been some really bright moments recently too, but everything's been staying steady. I'm trying.
That's good.
What about you? How are you doing?
I have been feeling hilariously worthless recently. So, for sure the voice in my head that's like, you don't deserve anything is very strong. And a lot of it is just outside, like external factors making things feel worse for me. or like not eating well enough or not sleeping well enough and having kind of a crazy schedule. Um, I know that that's all kind of feeds the depression monster. Um, so I for sure have been feeling like, oh boy, I don't deserve friends or for people to like me or want to be around me, and that the only reason people are okay with me is because they don't have to see me for that long or they don't have to see me really sad. And if they did see that, they would be like, oh no, she for sure is worthless.
Hmm.
So that is how I've been feeling. And I know it's not true, but I feel that it's true a lot more recently. So that's something that I have been struggling with.
Well, I'm sorry you're feeling that
Yeah.
way. And I can tell you it's not true. I mean, everyone in your support circle loves you, and
That's because you haven't spent enough time. No, I'm just kidding.
wow, wow.
um,
Just
but
shoot me out of the air, will ya?
yeah,
But
I know that I feel bad because it makes me feel like I'm being ungrateful for the friends that I have or the
hmm,
support system that I have, where I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, oh, you're worthless and nobody likes you. And then I'm like, wow, you're treating your friends like shit for even thinking that about them because they don't think that about you. So it's
yeah,
a vicious cycle of feeling bad, which is fun.
yeah. I mean, like going with my vague description of how I've been feeling slightly little off lately, but staying stable. Finding it very hard to muster up the will to, you know, understand that I do need that support system around me. I can feel like, yeah, like I've cut off some friends recently and things like that, and it's been kind of just a difficult spiral of just like, yeah, I'm feeling kind of just d- uh, apart from everything. I feel like I'm not here at the
Yeah.
moment. I'm just like kind of, you know, floating through everything, and it feels like I'm very distant from everything at the moment. But I'm trying to slowly, slog my way through it and everything like that. I mean, for you, I mean, do you feel like that there is anything that you could do at the moment that might ease the pressure of the outside stressors? Not necessarily make you feel happier or anything like that, but maybe there's a stressor that you probably could ease down if there is one.
Yeah, I think for me, especially recently, like there's some extent to which I can't control how much I have to work right now, or the way that I sleep, even. But if I would just eat and hydrate more, I think that that would help. And that doesn't make me non depressed,
Hmm.
but it's sort of, for me, for sure, I get more affected by sadness or stress when I'm like not eating and drinking enough. And I know that happens to a lot of people. And that doesn't mean that my moods aren't like valid or anything like that, but I know that that's something that I can do to just like at least help fight back against what uh, is somewhat happening to me and out of my control as
Right.
far as outside stressors. Um, but I have, on the positive side, um, definitely been getting a lot of support from people listening to the podcast. So thank you guys. I don't know if has anybody said anything to you recently.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people who I come in contact on a regular basis who have gotten a chance to listen to this show, and I'm very grateful for one, even a single person listening to this show, because the inside voice is like, oh, why are you doing this? No one's gonna listen to this. I mean, you're horrible. Why, why would you do this? But at the same time, like, yeah, there's been some outreach and some people who have been like talking to me here and there, but that's what we want to do. We want this is the show. We want people to not just like outreach to us, but I mean relate, understand, and hopefully that they're relating to us and understanding what we're going through right now, and hopefully see us slowly try to maybe long-term goal, never know, but like get us to a better level of what our depression is currently at, where we constantly talk about it and constantly see where how we can try to slowly make changes, and hopefully we can show the kind of journey from complete darkness to at least a dimly lit, area where things don't look as bleak as before, and it's it's gonna be a long, arduous journey, especially for us. I mean, I understand what you go through, and I know you know a little bit about what I go through as well, and it's gonna be just one of those things where hopefully with the support of each other and the support of all the people who are watching and listening and all the great people who have been giving us cool and great, input and discussion about it. We appreciate it all, and we do hope that we can show you the journey to at least get to a manageable and better coping of this, if that's the right word I'm using.
Yeah, and I think well, it's still a little bit crazy to me that anybody is listening at all, because I think a part of, like, a big part of me was like, nobody's ever gonna watch this, and I was like, that's fine, because at least we will have done it. But it definitely means a lot to me that you guys are watching and listening and reaching out to us. And even if you're not, even if you don't reach out to us, like, reach out to each other and the people in your life and talk about depression more. And if you can, talk about your own experiences more, so that, more and more we can mention depression casually if we want to, and that's okay, and nothing to be ashamed of, because I firmly believe that that's true, that it's nothing to be ashamed of. But a lot of times it's considered like way too dramatic to say in normal conversation, and too dramatic to joke about, like, why is that person seeking attention? And it's like, no, that's just your reality. Like, I'm Asian and I have depression. Like, both of those things are, like, fine. They're like facts about me, and it's
Yeah.
okay. And hopefully, you know, if you guys can try to talk about stuff more, that helps, and there will be more and more of us kind of just normalizing it and making it okay to talk about in detail, but also just, like, in passing.
Yeah.
Because that makes me feel better when I hear somebody that I thought was, like, so happy or so functional being like, blah, 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 and my depression. And I'm always like, oh, there's more of me out there. Like, that just makes me feel normal, because depression lies to you and tells you that it's not normal and it's horrible and you're like a freak, and you're
Mm.
not a freak.
No, you're not. And it's kind of like the point. The point is understanding that it's a normal thing. It's something that happens to a lot of people, and if we can talk about it and we can normalize it to a point where people are open to understanding it, then we can support each other in it, and we can get to a point where you know people are not you know totally detached from everybody and totally going off the deep end and to a point where things are completely bad. And that's the point. That's what
Yeah.
we want.
Talking about it gives you a lot more points along your journey before you get somewhere really bad, where you can try to stabilize or try to get help. And so, in that sense, also, the more that you're able to talk about your own journey and the more that you're able to answer honestly when people ask how you are, the better. And that's why we do this exercise of asking, how are you? And at this point, even though I expect that to be how we start the show out, it's
Yeah,
always a little bit jarring, I think, because it's very different from your experience in the outside world, where when someone asks how you are, you're just supposed to say, good, I'm good, how are you?
I'm fine. All right, and that's what you usually say. But the exercise we do here is we ask that question, and we want as honest of an answer as possible. Because if you're not afraid to actually talk about it, then people can hopefully hear you out and listen to you and understand it. That's what we want. So, one of the topics we wanted to actually get into today that actually kind of, I mean, it's very close to what we're talking about at the moment, but topic is do you think that depression can one day just go away?
And I think this is something that came up for both of us, because of one of our friends that watches the podcast, and um, I think it's it really made both of us think a
Yeah,
lot,
it
because
did.
it's a complicated question, and the answer may be different for different people. I had mentioned in a previous episode that I had a friend who confessed to me because of the podcast, because of me telling her about it, that she had depression and that she was like, I'm going to be on medication for the rest of my life, but it's, effectively gone now. And she was like one of the happiest people that I ever talk
Yeah.
about. And so I was surprised that she had struggled with that. And so, for some people, the answer is going to be medication makes it almost go away. And for some people, the answer is medication isn't really helping.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, I think that the journey's not necessarily linear, where it might seem to go away and then come back, or, you don't get depressed until you're really late in your life, even though, they say, like, oh, you generally start being depressed in your teens and 20s, and then, like, you have it forever. And I think there's lots of different experiences, um, and ways that it can happen, and ways that it can happen situationally. So I think is a pretty interesting question
Yeah.
with a ton of answers and not one right answer.
There isn't one right answer to this question at all. I don't think. And our mutual friend um, is on a path of complete. Just they believe that it's going to be a complete. They can get through everything and it can completely eliminate it. And we understand that, and we understand that there are probably multiple people out there who are trying to eliminate it completely and believe that they can. But it's not the same answer for not for everybody. And for, I wholeheartedly believe that it's something that you can get to. I mean, this is just for me, and I understand that if you guys have a different opinion, that's fine. But for me, I believe that depression is something that you can get to a manageable level, to a level where you can live with it and it can basically be gone, but it's something that's always there. It's something that you'll have to keep in check for the rest of your life because you someone can have been working to eliminate it for a very long time, and then they get to a point where they feel like it's gone and it's you've done everything you need to do, but then down the road there may be a stressor that triggers it that is dormant. You never know.
Yeah, almost like it's in remission
Yes,
for a while, but it could
and
come back.
that's the thing. You don't know exactly, and we don't know how many people's either body chemistry or emotional levels are, and each one of their journeys to complete remission of this, disease that we have here in this illness. But I believe that it can be a manageable thing, and a metaphor that I used was that uh, when you are physically harmed and if you are cut or something like that, it leaves a wound, right? And that wound hurts. It can fester, and if left untended, it can claim your life. But if you try, and if you try to tend to it, and try to do what you can to heal that wound, it can heal, but sometimes it can leave a scar, right? And for people, sometimes they believe that, oh, but the scar, I don't notice the scar, but the scar is there, and it may not be noticeable today, but one day you may look down at the scar or something and notice it, and then yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's a thing, or oh, the scar is there, but it doesn't mean that you haven't beaten this illness into remission and you are keeping it in check, because that's what we want. We want to live a normal life, um, and if we can beat this down and go through our ways of working through everything that is, you know, triggering everything and causing us to be in this state, we can get it down to a manageable, copable level where we can lead, pretty much normal lives.
Do you
But what
think
about
that
you?
do you think that the way
Sorry.
that you view whether or not you can ever get rid of depression, how do you think that affects the way that you deal with it? Like, does it ever make you feel more hopeless, like, oh, I'm going to be like this forever? Or does it make you feel sort of more determined to fight that battle and, kind of like make you feel more like a warrior or, both?
I mean, I can see your point, and the thing is that, like looking at it, I can wholeheartedly say it's like, yeah, sometimes like it seems like it could be hopeless, but at the same time, taking charge of your life and wanting to s- stay alive and live a normal life. That's something that I think everyone kind of wants, and everyone should strive for, because it's an important thing that, for you to be able to continue on and you know continue your story and understand. Yeah, it's sometimes it can seem very difficult, and sometimes it can seem very bleak and dark, but looking at it, you know, if if you let this disease claim you, if you let it, you know, get too dark and make you believe that you're too far gone, or too worthless for saving, or too worthless for people to love you, or people to be around you, or people to like you, it can, it can be a pretty big stressor on you. But it is important that you know you understand that, like, this is kind of also how it spreads. I mean, you know, the stressor of losing you can cause someone else to break as well, and you don't want that, and you don't want to keep feeding this disease. You don't want to keep pushing it out there. You want to beat it down into remission and show other people that you can. And when you do that, you can hopefully live a normal life, but also, show others that they can as well too. And you can keep those around you who you may not feel are there, or may not feel like they should be liking you, or they should love you, or they should be your support circle. But the matter of fact is that they are. And if you let this disease push you to a point where you go into a very dark place, or you break, or you end your journey here, it can cause a break in multiple people, because everyone is like it's a spider web of like connection and bonds we make through our lives. And you know
So you think for you, part of the reason that you keep on fighting is for other people around you that you know would be affected?
well, that's part of it. But another thing is that I, deep down, that's, even though like I'm being blocked off by this whole illness and everything like that, deep down I know that I do want to try to get it to a manageable level. But at the same time, it's fighting the shadow self of yourself, if you will. I
Yeah.
mean, what about you? I mean, do you feel like that?
I guess for me, I mean, you bring up the phrase a manageable level, and I think for me, I don't, because of my experiences with medication and therapy, and sort of nothing really ever being able to make the depression, quote unquote, go away. Um, at least for me, it seems like I'm just going to be this forever. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I can't be happy, but I don't even know if I believe in what is and isn't a manageable level for me. I guess I think, sometimes my manageable level is going to be you're getting out of bed and you're going to work and you're taking a shower and you're brushing your hair, and that's the best you can do. And like, in those times, I feel almost stronger than in the times where I'm super functional, because in those times I'm exerting like almost a superhuman level of effort in order to do that stuff. And kind of when I'm very functional but almost like a normal person, and I say normal in very much air quotes, uh, but when what the closer I get to being so functional that it almost looks like I don't have depression, sort of the more I start to nitpick and pick apart the little things about me that are not being enough like a person that has no depression. And I guess for me, depression has become such a big part of my identity because I've had it for so long that it's like fine and neutral to me. And I can be like a happy person, but also depressed. And I can be a sad person and also depressed. And my goal, I guess, is not even necessarily to stabilize it for myself, but just to get as much happiness out of it as I can, because I know that my brain at times is not going to let me feel happiness, and like that's what I try to fight against.
Mm.
I think. that seeing other people who are having a really hard time too, that's often what makes me feel stronger. Is not even the people who beat depression or who are really functional, but the people who are like really down and having an awful time, but they're still alive. Like that sort of, those are the people that for me provide the most inspiration. And that is the version of myself that I almost see as the strongest version of myself because I remember like just bits and pieces and the tunnel vision of being in the Great Depression and looking at that person. That was like the strongest fucking person to me. This, the way I am now, is like fine, like it's good that I'm fighting, but it does not take nearly as much effort as it took to just be alive, you know, when I was like really bad.
Yeah,
Um,
but seeing the difference between that Chris and now Chris, you don't think that there was a journey upwards, a journey, you know, to betterment from that point to this point?
yeah, I think I look a lot, I look like a more functional person and I look like a more normal person. And I am able to be happier and I'm glad about that. Um, but I guess I don't necessarily even see it as like a journey up. It's just like a different thing that's happening to me in which I have different goals. And I guess when I was at my most depressed, my goal was like just stay alive, like just stay alive at all costs. And that was the hardest thing to do. And now it's like I have other goals like, oh, be incrementally more functional and more functional and more functional. Um, but it's a little bit more unclear to me then like what is it that I'm supposed to be doing because now that I'm more capable of doing a lot more stuff, it's not like just stay alive, it's like be alive and do a bunch of other things, and that I guess can be more complicated for me. um, and so when I say that like the other me is my inspiration, that doesn't mean that this me isn't also good and maybe an inspiration to somebody, and it's, you know, it's considered better by society because I'm more upright and I'm more out of bed. um, but I don't like, for me, the version of me that is my hero will always be that person who survived the Great Depression and who knows that it might come again and that I might have to fight that again, even though that sounds horrible.
Yeah, but I think you can do it, and I think that you can continue to push forward. And while it may not seem like there was for you in your mind a journey upwards or if you're or a betterment, I think that there was. And right now, I think that it's the depression, the one that the voice inside that is making you convinced that like, oh, you're not better, you're still the same, you're just able to do more, you know. And I think that's what it seems like at the moment. But at the same time, it's really great that you can understand that like looking back at Chris from the Great Depression did survive that moment and did push through and was able to not end everything, to
Yeah.
keep going.
I
And
think it's just, it's like you have different goals at different points in your life, and different battles are going to be different amounts of hard for you. And so I guess that's why, to me, this is easier than what I did before. And so it does give me sort of a strength knowing that I was able to survive what happened before. But I guess that's why, like, it's not like I don't respect myself now, but I respect that version of myself so much. And it's not like I'm grateful to be more functional, but I'm not going to say that this me is better than the other me because we were just fighting different battles.
mm,
Does that make sense?
sure, I can. Um, and I think that the battle is still going within you, and I think that
Yeah.
it's still going on within me as well. And as we keep trying to sustain ourselves and keeping ourselves afloat, I mean, I think there's a way where we can keep pushing forward, and I think there's a way where we can hopefully get to a point where, like you said, you want to grab as much happiness as possible, and hopefully you can sustain that happiness. And I think just the drive to want to grab that happiness is the small little hope of like wanting to get a little bit better, you know. While I don't think that we have a chance of completely eliminating our illnesses here that we have. I think
Yeah,
that
I don't even necessarily call it get better, I guess then.
mm, yeah,
Um, and that's something that not you can call it whatever you want and like call it whatever helps you for sure. But like for me, the phrase get better doesn't even make sense because I think you just do the best you can in whatever situation is happening to
yeah,
you.
I can see
And
that.
sometimes that's like I took a shower today, and sometimes that's like I went to work and then I went to the gym and then I did a bunch of other stuff and then I cooked dinner and like you do the best you can and you put in the most effort you can, but some days you're given like a full basket and some days you're given like one small teacup
Mm.
and you just do what you can with what you have at the time.
I can see the point. So maybe not betterment, but I think that we can work to make this illness manageable
Yeah.
and to a
And so
point
that you
where
can
we can.
be happy more and do more of the stuff that you want. But the kind of the core thing is like you have to be here in order for you to have any days that days in the future where you get to do
Yeah,
something that you think is fun or you get to eat a bag of Cheetos tomorrow.
yeah. I think we can get to a point where we can manage the shit out of this, right, guys? I think that while everything seems dark at the moment and things have gone, there is a lot of outside stressors at the moment, but I think that um, that's just the moment we're in at the moment, But that wow, that was a phrase, wasn't it? That I think that's the moment we're in the moment. No, I think that's just the things we're dealing with at the moment. But I think as we continue on, we continue to try to try to do things. I think we can make this into a manageable level, into a point of a manageable level that we don't really even notice that it's being managed, and that oh yeah, I do have this, but it's become an easier thing to manage. It's no longer, you know, a handicap for me. It's a thing where I can live my life around it and just okay, it's there, but it's not a handicap anymore. It's something I turned into a strength or something that I turned into something I can, you know, totally and something that I can totally ignore, you know. And right now that seems like a far off, goal, but I think it's a long goal that I think all of us should try to strive for because having just living in Yikesland, you don't want to live in just a flaming garbage truck of a life all the time, like that you believe. You want to get to a point where you know that you're getting to a manageable level with everything. And I think that's there's steps to take that. There's steps to you want to talk to somebody, or you take your medication if it works for you, or if you go to therapy if it works for you. You use the positive reinforcements and the things that you need to help. And so hopefully that gets us there. I don't know.
I think I mean we're talking about what's manageable and I guess the important thing to think about is like what's a manageable level for you at what time. And sometimes you're going to be able to handle more and sometimes you're going to be able to handle less, and that's all okay. That's all like a valid part of your journey. um, but I guess for me being depressed is sort of like a very insidious, like it's an insidious mindset, and I talk a
Mm.
lot about the monster chasing you or about the voice inside your head. And so for me it's I don't always feel like I can't experience happiness. I think depression does try to rob you of a lot of the things that normally would make you happy, like human connection or your favorite hobbies or watching movies and stuff like that. And depression can try and trick you and take that stuff away from you. But at the same time, sometimes it's just a voice in your head being like, but maybe you're worthless though. And for me, that voice can be like having that for my life to be manageable. It's not like I need to not have that voice. I just need to be really good at not listening to the
Yeah,
voice,
and that's the thing
you
about
know?
managing it.
Yeah, and it's not even like I need to not hear it anymore. It can come up a lot, and self doubt can come up a lot, and that can be neutral or even healthy. And it becomes very painful at times with your depression when you aren't strong enough to fight back against it. So everybody experiences, self-doubt. But what your depression will say is like, no, you're worthless. Not like, oh, maybe this won't work out, this thing that you're doing. It's like, no, you personally are wholly a piece of shit, you know? And to me, it's that you dealing with your depression doesn't necessarily mean that you don't think the things that a depressed person would think. It's just that you think them and then you don't listen to them. And so I guess for me, that's what I consider my manageable level, or a thing that I'm fine with, is I'm fine with the fact that I may eternally have all of those dark things, but that I may just eternally be able to be one step ahead of the monster. Um, and for me, like, that's okay. Like, I don't want to say resigned to it because it doesn't seem horrible to me. It seems like a strong person who is fighting all the time. And I think there's a nobility in that.
Mm. Yeah, I think so as well. Sorry, but I also, there are different paths for everybody. You know, different roads, and some people are, more strong-willed or maybe strong mentally, I guess. And if you believe that, if you believe that you can get to a manageable level where you think that you have eliminated it, please keep striving for it. Then, I hope that you get there. But for what we believe in at the moment, I think that it doesn't go away. But I think that for me, I believe that it doesn't go away, but you can get it to a minuscule, manageable level where you live your life and you're happy and you can live a normal life. But you know the darkness and the voice still there, but you're able to ignore it and you're able to move past it. Every single time it tries to get in your way.
And
And so,
maybe for some people, you do try medication and it does work and you don't even think the bad stuff anymore. That happens for some people. And I think the way that you experience depression has a lot to do with sort of what you can consider okay or better or manageable. Because everybody's symptoms are different. There's a body of symptoms that people generally have, but everybody has sort of a different constellation of them.
mm,
Um, and for me, I tried medication, and there were times in my life where I thought, oh, maybe all of this is going to go away. And I increasingly think, oh, it's not going to go away. But that doesn't matter to me because I can still keep fighting. And I think the most important thing is not where you set your goal or whether you reach it or what you consider manageable, but that you commit to keeping, to keep fighting even when it's very difficult, and that you forgive yourself on days when all the fight that you have in you is like you're laying in bed, and
mm,
that's okay too. Those people are strong too. I've been that person, and that person was very strong too. Everywhere that you are on your journey, and however quote unquote well you are doing at diminishing your depression, is super valid. And I very strongly feel that I'm proud of everybody exactly where they're at.
mm, yes. Again, we want you to be constantly, pushing and living your manageable life, and then coming back every Tuesday because it's Tuesday, and you know, understanding that you not being here, that would cause more darkness to be put in the world, and we don't want that. So understand that you being here means the world to a lot of people. So, uh, yeah, that was a very good topic, I think. Right?
Yeah, it was dark, but dark in a good way.
It's a good dark, like dark coffee.
Comfortable in the darkness.
Let's have like a little side discussion here, or mini topic, I guess, or recurring topic. We wanted to talk about like setting small goals for ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Is that what we
and
wanted
I
to do?
think that's that can be a really helpful thing to do. It gives you something to strive for, and I will caveat that I think it's also important to forgive yourself when you don't meet those goals, especially when you're dealing with something like depression or anxiety or other mental illness. is, set the goals and work towards them as best you can. But maybe you set a goal on Monday and by Thursday you're like crying in bed, and that's okay too.
Mm.
I think that we should set the goals and we should try for them, and then we should be very forgiving of ourselves if we don't meet them that week, and we'll just try again next week. So, that being said, what do you think a small goal for you would be?
Small goal for me. Oof. Oofa doofa. That's a very interesting thing. Small goal for myself.
I guess that's something that's, little and you see as probably achievable, but that you think would particularly address what's bad for you right now.
Hmm. Uh, let's see. Something small for me to try to attain. I could probably try to attain. Uh, it's hard. Go first.
Okay. I guess I was going to say that mine would be eating better, but I kind of already talked about that earlier. Um, so I will say that my small goal is after I have an interaction with somebody, um, to just take a second and reflect on the fact that that person is a real person who probably cares about me.
Hmm,
Um,
that's a
I
good one.
think this goes back to what I was talking about in the previous episode and this episode a little bit as well. But my depression has been telling me recently a lot, as I mentioned, that I'm worthless or that people don't really like me. And they're just like okay with me for a second. Um, and that allows me to create in my head this world where I am not worthwhile because I don't have an effect on the people on earth. And, that's not true and that's a harmful thing for me to think. So I think just taking a second after someone's like, hey, how are you? And thinking, that's a real person that really cares about me and that, you know, had an interaction with me and enjoyed it and would be sad if I was gone. To just take a second to think about that, I think would be a healthy small goal for me to try and build up defenses to fight against the voice that's telling me the opposite.
Hmm. Okay, I come up with one. All right, so I've talked about it before. I have a gym membership. I have not used it, but so I wanted to try to get a little bit more physically active to try and see if that can stem my fatigue that I constantly feel.
Yeah.
So what I will make a small goal for myself is I'm going to try to make it to the gym every day, and I'm really bad at also. I used to have a love of cooking, of making food, and I went to culinary school for a little while too, and the depression has kind of robbed me of like my feeling for that, and a lot of the recipes and things that I used to cook and things that I used to really love, I found myself that I can't recall recipes or can't recall how I
Sure.
tasted, and it's a lot of that goodness that I had. It's been kind of pulled out of me. So, uh, my small goal that I'll set for myself is trying to make it to the gym every day, and I will try to, instead of eating junk food, try to have a couple home cooked meals. See if I can
Oh, that's a
see if I
double
can
goal.
see if I can have that
Very
happen.
lofty.
This is an interesting one. What would you set as a goal, a small goal for the other host?
Oh, okay.
It's a fun game.
I think that I would I mean, I guess for me, so your goals are all very physical, and I guess my goals are sort of like mental challenges.
Hmm.
Um, but I would challenge you as your small goal to write down some of the things, like put to paper and make it physical some of the bad things that you are thinking about yourself, and then either write down as well or say out loud the counter arguments to them.
Mm. Okay.
So, if you're feeling like because I didn't make it to the gym today, I'm worthless, and
Mm.
like write that voice down and then look at it and realize kind of how stupid it is or how mean it is. Like that's what a bully would say. That's not what you should say.
Mm.
And so write
Okay.
down a couple of those, and then try to fight against them.
Mini journal or depression
Yeah.
journal. That sounds interesting. Since yours are all mental, a goal that I would like to set for yourself, and let's see how this works out or not. Um, you've been having a lot of issues with the voice in your head and a lot
Yeah.
of things, and you're trying to work mentally and everything like that. If you can, I challenge you to, when you wake up and before you go to bed, um, look in the mirror and repeat, the phrase of "you're not worthless." Kind of a positive saying
Yeah.
phrase to yourself if you can. Just look straight, eye to eye contact if you can, and just you know, before when you wake up, before you go to bed, just repeat it every single day. That same phrase, whatever phrase you're gonna come up with, if you can, something of "you're not worthless, you are loved, you are supported, and you can move forward."
Okay.
Something like that if you can.
Cool.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's not too much or anything like that,
That
is it?
sounds good.
Just
It's a good small goal.
and then we'll report back in, and hopefully we will have both done everything we wanted to do every single day, or at least our goals we've set for each other every single day
Yeah.
along the way, and we'll report in and see how these small little goals help us, positively or
Yeah.
not. Um, how do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it goes, and I think it feels good to have something that you're trying for again, even if you don't reach it, because things change for people, or your strength changes, especially when you're really depressed.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that we will both be here to both hold each other accountable for our goals, but then help each other forgive ourselves, for things that we don't meet.
Yeah, yeah. We're each other's support pals, support buddy. What is a nickname? We gotta come up with a nickname for this. We're we're each other's yike. It's gonna be slang. You're my yike. No, you're my yike. You know what? You're my yike. All right, that's what we're gonna do. All right, I don't know, something like that. That's what we'll come up with. We're each other's yike right now, but it's a good yike. Oh yeah, but hopefully these goals that we set for each other can help at least for a little bit, or see if we can actually put them into you know attainable use while our depression monsters are bugging us not to do them. Like I'm sure that it's gonna feel stupid while you look in the mirror and it's like, oh, I gotta say this phrase. It feels kind of awkward, but
Oh, it's okay. I
you know,
talk to myself all the time, so
yeah,
it'll be chill.
yeah, it'll be chill. You're just gonna look in the mirror, repeat a phrase, eye to eye contact, just say it, complete it, and then that's what
Yeah.
you got. When you get up, when I get up, and then if anything happens with me, I'll write it into a journal. Hopefully, it doesn't get too dark, and then we'll see what happens. You know,
We'll
um,
get a colorful journal.
I'll get a
Yeah.
colorful like. I'm gonna go and
We
find
should
like.
get Yikesland branded journals.
Oh, we should get
That'd be
journals,
great.
depression journals. That's so good. We gotta get T-shirts too. This is something we need to get. We need to have like. We need to match
Yeah,
T-shirts.
with
It's like,
the
hey,
rainbow
that's
on
my
it.
yike. That's my yike. That's what we're gonna do right there. That's how we're gonna do it, guys. But yeah, I mean, this has been fun again, talking about
Yeah.
our darkness. But folks at home, thank you so much for joining us here. Hopefully, you're having fun with us, or feeling like you can relate to everything we talk to you about here, and kind of relating with our experiences. While some of it may seem dark at some points, point is that we want to talk about it, because if we weren't talking about it, 9 times out of 10, not talking about it leads to something very dark, another Great Depression, another um, attempt at ending your life, at another dark patch, and we don't want that. We chose this day, we chose Tuesday to release the podcast because it's Tuesday and we made it, right, guys? That's what we want. We want to make it to Tuesday, and
We're glad
hopefully,
you're here with us.
I'm glad you're here with us. So, Yikesland is brought to you by the Pop Samurai Network. You can find out more information about the Pop Samurai, or find out see our page on the Pop Samurai Network, popsamurainetwork.com. And then if you guys visit us on Twitter, at Yikesland, Facebook at Yikesland, Instagram Yikesland_podcast blows. You can email us if you want to talk to somebody. You can talk to us, please, if you want to. You can send us a story. You can tell us something about yourself. Anything. We would appreciate it. You guys can email us at yikesland@gmail.com. You know,
Make sure you give us those sad reacts on Facebook,
that's
some
right.
sad emoji comments on
I
Instagram.
want to see as many sad emojis
And
as
if you
possible.
guys are listening on iTunes, if you can rate us and subscribe.
Yes, yes, please. If you guys, it takes just a couple minutes, maybe in a couple seconds, to give us a rating and give us a review. Those ratings and reviews really help with the algorithm that iTunes has to push us up the rankings and maybe even get us featured on the front page of our section. And the more we can get the podcast seen, the better. So if you have an iTunes account, or even if you don't, if you're you can get over there and give us a review for the podcast. It'd be really great. And just giving us as many likes or subscriptions as possible. Let people know. That'd be really great. That's positive.
Yeah. Shout out to my dad who's been liking every YouTube video that we do.
Good job. Great. It's good stuff.
Supportive parents.
Supportive
It's great.
parents. Supportive parents. They're great. So, on a closing note, if anybody's feeling really dark or anything like that, where can they go to get even extra help for emergency situations?
If you guys, are feeling like you need someone to talk to, you can give the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline a call. It's 24/7, completely confidential, and they can be reached at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. If you feel like you need somebody to talk to and you don't feel like you have anybody around you that you can or want to talk to, just please reach out to someone. They are there for you all the time, like I said, 24/7. And I think that's a really good resource to have as well. Just don't let yourself ever feel so hopeless that you make a permanent decision.
Yeah. We want your story to continue, and we want you to be here with us every Tuesday because it's Tuesday, not because the podcast is released or anything like that, but because it's Tuesday and you're here and you're watching with us.
Living in
And,
Yikesland.
we want you to live in Yikesland with us. So, this has been your host, Jelani Hoon.
And Chris Fung, thanks for being here with us, guys.
That's right.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed the views from Yikesland, and you my yike. Catch you next.